let's rock and roll. All this industrial commission meeting order. Welcome. Yes.
Attorney General.
Here.
Commissioner.
Here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We still saying amen.
Gentlemen, who's starting?
Governor, first to give you a brief report on the finances. I see the uncommitted cash in the Lignite Research Fund, over $5 million, and the various coal taxes will continue to trickle in throughout the biennium. And the $10 million of oil and gas taxes that come into the Lignite Research Fund is scheduled to fill sometime this fall. One of the treasurer's office said Mike is optimistic with the high oil prices. It'll probably be August, but regardless, it'll be there by the time of fall, by the time of November grant range hits. So with the schedule for the biennium to get to 18.5 million, with the projects before you today, 7.6 million. Be looking for the last two grant rounds of the biennium, you still have at least about $10 million left. Two, so things I think are good, and as with the projects, good projects that they're in a good spot, so I'd leave it at that. Go ahead, Mike.
So with that, we've got my clone here, and he's gonna do project A, and then Jordan will do project B, I'll do project C, and then Jason anchor with the fourth project. So we have four great projects. I'm gonna cut Jason loose with the first one.
Good morning. Thank you, Mike. Jason Lom, formerly with the EDRC, now with the Lignite Energy Council, will be trying to fill Mike's very large shoes in the role that he has played here. So excited to be here this morning. The first project we have for you is from Ore Spring Materials and Americarbon. The objective of this project is to demonstrate the integration of the Americarbon eco-pitch process with rare earth element and critical material, critical mineral extraction, rare earths, germanium, gallium, graphite. The project is scheduled for 2 years. NDIC ask is for 1.175 million. This project has also received funding from the Clean Sustainable Energy Authority, Technical Advisor Recommendation Fund with some contingencies. The average score was 210 out of 250. Two fund and one funding may be considered from the reviews. The LRC vote was 15 yes, 0 no, 3 abstentions. We feel this project is critical to moving forward the eco-pitch process that's looking to build a demonstration facility in Wayne County. This will be very much a plus up on that, adding these additional technologies and giving that process more economic diversity and adding these unit operations on to that plant. This project will not slow down or hinder that process at all. It will be an add-on.
So move. Second.
Discussion.
Looks good.
Roll call.
Commissioner.
Yes.
Attorney General.
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
Project B, I'll take it because it's involving the Energy Council and their education program, and it's ongoing program in its 40th year. People speak highly of and positively of. They have the seminar for teachers every summer, other education outreach to the general public, and just educating North Dakotans on everything with lignite industry and the economic opportunities, the job opportunities. So they're requesting $550,000, and that's a 39-month duration. And the technical reviewers give a good score of averaging 223 out of 250. All three recommending fund, and the research council gave it unanimous consideration as well. And by all accounts, it's a very positive, worthwhile program. State We recommend funding it, continuing to fund it past the 40th year.
So moved.
Second. Discussion.
Only reservation would be, are they gonna be here for another 40 years?
We're growing.
All right. That's all good.
Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Corbin,
Yes.
So I've taken the third project, it's Bakken cracking the code 2.0, and it's the lignite side of that effort. The total effort, and the reason I took it, Jason's been removed from the ERC from 1 week and they're the prime on it. And also because I think it's the most important project opportunity we have in the state. Cracking the code, tight oil removal with enhanced oil recovery using CO2 and any available excess gas is just a tremendous opportunity. Lynn Helton's always used to say we have potential to possibly double the amount. The ERC estimates are 8 billion, up to 8 billion additional barrels of oil. And so this is out of $142 million total program size, this is the lignite portion to look at the infrastructure at the plant and the transportation of that CO2 to the oil fields. The ERC program has 5 oil industry partners already, as well as a big investment from the oil and gas side. And so I think it's just the most important opportunity we have. The vote, well, we had the technical review scores was an average of 206 out of 250. And we had a unanimous vote of 17 yeses and 1 abstaining. So our recommendation is very strongly that we should move that forward, as well as look to how we progress that into the future, so that we see more and more CO2 EOR in addition to what we have in Southwest North Dakota, and get it especially in the Bakken.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Yeah, I mean, this is it, right? Like this is, this is where we keep production above 1 million barrels a day, and it's invested, private industries invested, lignite's invested, oil and gas is invested, federal government is invested.
Yeah.
I don't think Senator Hogan gives a public speech without saying crack the code 2.0. So, we have support at the federal delegation, and I mean that. I mean, he's been really, really great, obviously. And this is the future of a mature shale play.
Yeah.
It's a worthy investment by all those involved. So thanks to everybody for being a part of this conversation.
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you. The last one?
The last project we have this morning is demonstration of rare earth element exploration and characterization technology from Microbeam Technology, a 32-month project. Project that involves exploration of BNI mines to be able to demonstrate, including rare earth element exploration, and characterize the center mine coal resource more cheaply, faster, more effectively, developing a tool that can be used in other places in the state of North Dakota, other coal fields, potentially in the future, even looking at shales, be able to get a sample back within 24 hours, finding those hot spots that contain those rare earths right there on site, using easier, faster, cheaper technologies to do so. The team has already proven some of the algorithms, and this is going to be the next step in hopefully commercial deployment of that technology coming out. Technical advisor's recommendation will make exploration and finding rare earths less invasive and faster. The proposer said up to 1/13 the cost of conventional methods used right now, and substantially cutting the time down from weeks to 24 hours. The vote was 18 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions from the Lignite Research Council. 199 out of 250 of the scores from the reviewers. 1 fund, 1 consider funding.
So move.
Second. Discussion.
So Jason, what was the previous technology? I thought it was similar. or was there a treatment involved? I remember going through, there was a lot in the.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So previous technologies, core samples would be taken, separated, sent to a laboratory. The coal would then be digested and analyzed with ICP-MS technology.
Okay.
This would be out in the field, taking the core and running it through, running tools down the hole to analyze the formation around it, and then taking the core and running it through an XRF in the field and using an algorithm to tie all of that information together to make a map and show the hotspots.
Okay.
So it's a
Little
lot
bit different.
quicker
Yeah.
Much
and
faster.
cheaper. And they're down to about 20% accuracy, which even a perfect analysis is not much better
Still, yeah,
spot to spot.
thank you.
Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
General,
Yes.
Governor,
Yes.
Your next logo.
Okay, one thing you wanted to take a look at is, the Lignite Research Council, the fund actually is coming up on its 40-year anniversary next year. As we've been looking back and kind of collecting the history of that, we realized that there is not a logo for the program. Where this comes up is when we have project partners that are out, whether it's at the EPIC conference or other conferences around the state, they'll be talking about the latest and greatest technology that they're deploying in the field. And they always show a slide where they've got, we've got DOE and these industry partners and whatever. And a lot of times we've seen them put up the Lignite Energy Council logo to our dismay. We pointed that out a couple times saying, no, it's not from the Energy Council. It's from the Research Fund and the NDIC. And so what we wanted to do was be a little bit proactive and put forward a couple of logo samples there. We did take a recommendation vote in the last meeting, and number 2 and 5 were the most popular from the Research Council, but wanted to put those forward for your consideration.
You want us to make a decision today? Actually,
You want us to pick?
We would like you to.
I like 3 too.
Number 2 was the highest vote getter. Number 5 was a close second place.
Yeah,
I was not nearly prepared for this.
well, this is just too much. For an industrial commission meeting, that.
Come back at noon.
yeah. I would say, about this process. I had a conversation last night with Congresswoman Fedorchak. We were talking about just misperceptions that exist about certain things in public policy. And even this morning, like lots of money is going out the door for really important things that people have, there's so much will here behind that. There's a lot going on in this area right now. There should be from my perception, should be no greater focus, whether this is more important, but as important, we better be communicating on this stuff. Because in a hurry, we're already, when I say we're the state, we're already getting wrapped into what has the danger of being a long, protracted period of misperception about something really important going on. And that is the opportunities that are coming with the new economy. I'll bring up data centers as one thing, but your rare earths and a whole bunch of other stuff. Extraordinary opportunity that's up there. And it's not too tough, apparently, to get people cranked around the other way and start a discussion that now we're going to be facing headwinds on, as opposed to just dialogue. I had a long discussion last night at the end of it, just a nice, quiet public event. And it was pretty animated with some folks, but really constructive. And that's what she and I ended up discussing about. And there's some folks that came into an industrial commission meeting recently, and then got out and they got active on Facebook. And then I went over and walked up to them and disavowed them of a couple of perceptions that they're just flat wrong. To which their response was, well, we didn't know. To which my response was, all you had to do was ask. I'm not fault finding with them at all. But what Julie and I were chatting about was, it doesn't take long for these things to take off and start going. And they can defeat public support for everything that you're describing here and the dollars that come through here and the legislature that we all work with. They're by design creatures of their hearing from the people out in these communities. There better be a lot more dialogue. And I'll tell you what, all of these entities, I hope, are looking around that corner saying, you got a public backlash brewing. It was described as a volcano by several of these people, and it'll undermine support for everything we've just done in the last 15 minutes. It'll do it, and it'll do it long term, well beyond our terms. The next members of this industrial commission will be sitting there. They won't have the resources because there won't be the public support for it.
Yeah.
I've only been here 4 years. And that was, and within that time period, we've gone from people discussing the end of coal to now people discussing the exciting opportunities that are there. And some would say, well, the White House has changed. Well, it better damn well not just be that the White House changed, because that's going to happen every 4 years, it seems, for the next 20. So let's all look for other opportunities. But I've been encouraged this great and all the great potential that's up there. I would encourage so much public communication about it, about facts, not advocacy of people. They're smart. They're out there. They're living near data centers or where they want to put up the new ones. They're concerned. And not one of them was saying, no. They're saying we need a dialogue. We deserve one. We've been on this land for 4 generations. So I'm going to end there because I know I don't want to like rabbit hole the meeting, but I'm going to spend time encouraging every chance that I get to people say, let's all celebrate open dialogue about these things in important ways, because we can vote on this and we're unanimous on it, not because we're rubber stamping. These are good ideas, sound policy, sound push behind it from our legislative body, and the work that you're all doing. We appreciate, we can celebrate it. And there needs to be a lot of public dialogue, and a lot of it I think should come from our great coal industry. They ought to be saying, look, you know what? I hate number 1. I hate it. I hate it. That's really what I wanted to say. No, I hate it because you know what? It looks old, and it looks metal, and it looks raw, and we're gonna dig that crap out of the ground, and we're gonna burn it, and then go on to the next thing. That's old. Do one of these with the sun coming up, because it's the future of North Dakota. It's critical, and it's critical to our baseload production. We all know those things, and more people need to. And I just want to encourage you. You've got to have the public support, and people who are on the land, who are out there now. They deserve not just to be heard; they deserve to be part of the discussion. Because I got a call from Secretary of State last night after we were texting back and forth because he saw the animated discussion going on and was kind of curious. And then we had a good dialogue about it, and I assured him that was all positive, every bit of it. It was spirited and positive. They want to be part of the dialogue, and they should be. And your industry, not that many years ago, you all know this. It looked like we were just kind of end gamers, like we scratch out a few more years of taking coal out of the ground. That's total BS. It's the future. It's the future. In hand in glove with our great oil and gas industry, hand in glove with our great agriculture industry. Hand in glove with all of it. I'm preaching to the choir a little bit, but I want to do everything we can to urge people to go here, because the sun is rising. The sun is rising, and the political will can be there, and we'll be gone. And maybe sooner than later, I'm up for election this year. But
He's scaring me now.
no, that's gonna be the carry forward, and we should erase some of those headwinds that can be erased if we sit down with communities to talk about facts, and they can't come back to you in 2 months and say that was total crap. That wasn't even true. What they were saying, they were just advocating.
Yeah.
So we're obviously with you, not just because we can't find a way to vote no on anything. We're with you because this is important, and we get the privilege of working with so many great people who educate us to know that this is around the bend. This is exciting, and it's national security. I'll stop, Gov. But thank you for this TED Talk.
Good.
But a long way of saying thank you.
Good.
And I think a couple things I just hope the only one that works if you're using it on black and white a lot is number 1. But as long as you're staying in color, I agree with Drew on, I actually think when you shrink them down and put them on different things, that number 2 will work better than number 1 or number 3 for everything you put it on, but that's just mine. But I'd also say this, and whether it's talking about enhanced oil recovery, which we just did, or this stuff moving forward on critical minerals and a lot of things that, one, let's back up. The reason this money exists is because there were a lot of legislators that had forethought to set it up with finite resources trying to draw it out. I mean, we just talked about August or October for one of those. And secondly, we are going to have to effectuate policy around all of this stuff. But the policy only works if the research works first.
Yeah.
Like, so I think sometimes you guys get conflated into the policy around enhanced oil recovery or the policy around critical minerals. Those things will happen, but they'll happen down the hall with input from industry, with input from landowners, with input from us and everybody. But this is the research part of this. But I would also say it doesn't particularly help when you have people running for office talking about a super secret pipeline from Williston to Fargo, which is legitimately the most vetted pipeline in North Dakota history. It went through 2 legislative sessions of open debate. It's been a conscious, I talk about it in everything we talk about the legislature, but apparently because somebody wasn't paying attention for, like 4 years, it might be super secret to you. It's not super secret to anybody else. And talking about how we do those things. So I think people who are in office and people who are running for office actually have an obligation to tell the truth. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's just me. So
Yeah.
my TED Talk's over too.
I agree with everything. And we're thankful for the folks up at the Hollins for they've been super visionary on this.
Well, not only that, the legislature saw the value and the opportunity coming down the road, so they actually started diverting some of that oil and gas extraction tax into this program, knowing that enhanced oil recovery would be one of the end goals too.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
appreciate the extra funds going in, because we know it's difficult. You can only get so much out of the coal tax, but it's a good thing. Well, to avoid the sterile number 1, I'm gonna start there. I will put a motion forward and see if it's gonna take, and we'll do number 2.
I second that.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes,
Attorney General.
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
ditto on everything they said. Those were great comments, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say my TED Talk is, we agree.
So the EERC's gone to heck in a handbasket since we left there.
Public knowledge now.
It's not my fault.
You have one item under other business.
Tab 7. Oh. That would be nice to somebody. We have a resolution of appreciation honoring Mike Holmes for that's not on here, but I will just say for his years of service. So I'm going to read it because I think it's important. And we will vote on it afterwards. Do we vote on it? Yeah, we do. No, we don't have to vote on it. Okay. We've all signed it, so they already approved. Whereas Mike Holmes has served admirably as the technical advisor for the Lignite Research Development and Marketing Program since December of 2016. And whereas during his tenure as technical advisor, 76 new projects were approved in 28 grant rounds, totaling more than $105 million in grants with an overall project value of more than $346 million. And whereas Mike's distinguished career includes working as the Vice President of Research and Development for the Lignite Energy Council, serving as the Director of Energy Systems Development at the Energy and Environmental Research Center, and working for Babcock and Wilcox on coal-related research projects, and whereas through his service on the National Coal Council and as technical advisor to the Lignite Research, Development, and Marketing, Mike leveraged his technical expertise to advance carbon capture, utilization, and storage technologies, support the development of critical minerals and rare earth element opportunities for lignite and coal byproducts, and promote innovative value-added uses of lignite. And whereas Mike's leadership has been instrumental in positioning North Dakota's lignite industry for continued success through innovation, collaboration, and strategic investment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the North Dakota Industrial Commission hereby expresses deep gratitude to Mike Holmes for his service to the lignite industry and citizens of North Dakota, and wishes him the very best in his retirement. Adopted this 12th day of May, 2026.
Well, thanks. I feel very fortunate to have worked with such great leadership and technology development. I don't think anywhere can even compare to North Dakota in terms of leadership, talent, hard work. And so thank you. And in retirement, you won't see me go away. If it's not in the legislature, it'll be putting together ag energy nexus studies. It'll be, I just will have more time without having to move snow at Jonathan's house. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's grab it.
Oh, I suppose. Oh, just. Yep. Tell me what you need.
That's what I'm wondering. If you're
Go ahead.
taking
Go ahead.
pictures-
Go ahead.
That way they can look the same way.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you, Cynthia. I see we didn't get a chance to vote on your retirement. All they did say is, all you get to do is on that.
That failed for lack of a second.
I get that. That's the Attorney General, by the way. That might stand. I think there is a secret. Thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Morning. Hi.
Good morning.
You're up.
So on county finance, first item is the reappointment of an advisory board member, Housing Finance Agency Advisory Board member, and then the appointment of the chairs. We're moving a vice chair position and then somebody into the vice chair position. So pursuant to Century Code 54-17-07.1, the Industrial Commission appoints a 6-member advisory board to assist the commission and the Housing Finance Agency in administering and overseeing its program. The board member that's up for reappointment right now is Nanetta Wandler. She is with the real estate industry. Her term will expire on June 30th. She was first appointed in January of 2004, so she's been on the advisory board for a long time. She's a dedicated member, and she's interested in her service. So we are recommending that reappointment. And then we have 2 other board member or advisory board members, Lisa Rotvold, who's currently serving as vice chair, and we're recommending moving her into the chair position. And then Mr. Kevin Hansen, he represents the lender category on the advisory board, and we're recommending the appointment of Mr. Hansen to the vice chair position. So those are the recommendations we have for you this morning. Any questions on that?
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor?
Yes.
Thank you.
The other little discussion we had too is, as Karen said, our advisory board is a 6-member advisory board, which tends to be a little bit odd too, because it's 6 members. So Jim Farnsworth, who's on our board, has stated he wants to retire. He is our manufactured housing representative. He owned Colonial Estates. I think he sold it about 10 years ago. So he's been out of that business for a while. He's decided he wants to be completely out of housing and go do other fun things. So that puts us down to 5. So we're in discussions to, do we find another one? Also brought up a discussion of, we haven't changed our advisory board rules since 1980. So maybe is it a time in the next session to update that to be, it's pretty specific on who makes up that board. Do we make it a little bit more broad so that we can, we've talked about maybe this other member is like a economic development person from a rural area. Some things shift over time. Things have changed since 1980. We'd love to find another.
What is manufactured housing in 2026 versus what it was in 2019?
Exactly. There's not many parks in the state that are owned, anybody in the state anymore. They're all corporate owned. So that kind of creates a little bit of a problem too. Now there's prefab housing that's built in the state too. Is that somebody that could step in that realm? So, I told the board, I said, this isn't something we have to do, real quick. Let's be diligent about it, find the right person. If that has to wait till after session, no problem with that. So then the other question is, do we go, they had 6 members, do we go to 5, do we go to 7?
Except there's two different competing pieces there, right? If you want to change the makeup, you can't wait till after session. We should probably maybe have that conversation. Later, so you understand this stuff and figure that piece out. You say he wants to retire, like, as soon as possible. I mean,
He is done June or July 1.
okay.
So he's got one.
So the board could function from July 1 until
Absolutely.
after the legislative session without
100%.
appointing.
So those discussions we'll have, and I'll probably take some recommendations to them, and we'll kind of discuss it. And we'll obviously bring those back to you.
Sounds good.
Short and sweet.
Thank you.
You know, great.
Have a great day.
You too.
Brandon.
The electric chair.
I'll be the gentleman.
I think we'll call it automated chair.
Okay.
Out and in.
Great, Governor. Okay, so thinking outside the litter box a little bit here today. Go. Can you make it go?
Is it not working?
Don't. It's on. I'll just slightly do it. Over the past few years, you've awarded $12 million in projects, grant awards from the IIJA funds. And we, next slide, are still waiting on DOE, but it seems very promising that we're going to get FY 25 and 26, so another 7.2 million plus a 15% match. So it's amounts to about 8 million. So the issue is that we have projects that have applied in the past and there wasn't enough funding for all of them. And there's 2 that are really critical that I thought we should do something so that any money they expend would get covered if the grants come about. So to approve these projects, and by your approval of these projects, it creates a reimbursement date. So if you approve these 2 projects and they started working on them tomorrow and the funds don't come for 3 months or 6 months, the money they expended is reimbursable. So Hillsborough has a critical need. The dairy, Riverview Dairy, I say both of these are for the ag commissioner here, but that's a high impact load. They are providing the water for the dairy, and that requires increased electrical capacity. And even last year, their peak is 10% over the capacity of their transformers. So they are maxed out. So they need to get working on upgrading their system in town and add another substation. And Lakota is in a similar pickle. The substation that serves Lakota, it's only one, was put in probably the 50s. And that gets a little red when the load comes on. In just in the last couple of years, CHS has expanded their grain terminal and fertilizer plants. And there's a nursing home there. So it makes me nervous as an electrical person. And they need to get moving on getting that transformer replaced. They have a transmission line into town.
How long does something like that take, start to finish?
Pardon?
It takes, yeah, from the time they
Well,
start digging.
or depends on whether the substation, like in Lakota, if the transformer is available in WAPA's Dash A, if it's available, it's still probably a year project.
Really?
But if you have to order a transformer, we're talking several years. Yeah.
Really?
They're big. They come on big semis with
Lots of axles.
lots of axles. Yes.
That's something.
So anyway, next slides, both of these cities understand that if the grant funds don't come forward, it's on their dime, and they can finance them. But you, like Lakota, for instance, I don't think is 700 people in the community. Big, it's a big project to get covered by 700 residents and businesses. So, but they understand that risk. And so anyway, what they're asking for, what they asked for, their full project asked, but Hillsborough 4.2 million and the city of Dakota 2.5 million. And if 25 and 26 comes, we'll have money to do that plus more. We have a couple other projects that were in the queue if additional funding is available. So that's their grant request, and our recommendation is to fund them as per their request.
I move the request.
Second. Who's responsible for the public communication on projects like this where people will look and say, well, they're just to our comment a couple minutes ago, they're not going out there and build a data center. The state's going to pay for all these upgrades where it's going to cost the taxpayers a bunch of money. Microsoft came out 3 months ago saying any additions to the grid that are necessary as a result of the data centers they're building around the United States and globally, they're going to take those matters on. Broad brush. So where do those discussions take place in all of this? Because that's relevant for my vote anyway on grant dollars.
Sure. And I would think a press release from the Industrial Commission is one step, right?
So dozens and dozens of people will read it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
it sounds like you took care of my mom.
Yeah.
She'll see that.
And the communities themselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my role everywhere I go,
Yeah.
Be your Bakken 2.0 and gas pipeline message. And, on that topic, did you guys vote yet or?
No,
No.
I do want to make sure, I mean, we know this, but we need to make sure, I mean, the locals know this well. This is contingent on the federal money coming.
Right.
And that's so we don't have to call a special meeting or deal with all of this. So this will set the reimbursement date, but the reimbursement is dependent on the federal money coming.
Absolutely.
Okay, just so everybody is clear on that. Any other discussion on the motion?
No.
Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes,
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor,
Yes.
it's a good project.
Press release,
Drives
Paul.
our economy.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. But again, people, I think a great analogy is this isn't so different from building roads, which we use to get grain to market and cattle across the state and contractors moving everything else. This isn't so different from that. So there's going to be state investment. We got to have those conversations, and people, we can complain all we want about, well, I think they don't understand all the benefits of that. Well, what have we done to make sure that they've had that dialogue? And so, these are exciting. It's been an unexpected pleasure as part of my job as Attorney General, to be able to come to these meetings every month. You learn so much. There's so much going on. It's exciting. And our legislature doesn't get or take enough credit for looking around the corner on these things. They've done a good job in that regard over the years. So anyway.
So not to belabor much time here, but thank you for your comments earlier, all of you, about the issues facing our state. And Casey and I have had a few conversations, and we're visiting this tomorrow. I visit with NDSU with some community outreach people. Because my observation in listening to county commission meetings and planning and zoning meetings and legislative hearings is that people serving in those roles, like planning and zoning communities, could use more information and help and tools to help them make their decisions and back it up. So it's just not an opinion thing. So visited with the Association of Counties, and Aaron's very interested in that. We need to visit with last week I visited with Howard Klug, and he said the cities feel the same way. Is there some tools or some information to help commissions or planning and zoning committees or whatever, so that they have the tools to make to validate their decisions.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's the discussion of these fellows last night. It really came down to I was imploring them again. Don't choose sides. Don't even choose sides. Let's choose the side of information. How about that?
Yeah.
And be pro this, anti that. Why do you have to be? That's the politics of the day. Like, which side are you on of this? Well, I don't know. Let's get to information. And people are really open to that. Very open to that.
Yeah, we have so much opportunity, and a decision could be made to make $1 billion lifetime decision the
Yeah.
wrong way.
Right on.
So, well, thank you.
Thank you.
See you in July with the annual report, I guess, according to the boss, Aaron.
Thanks there.
Governor, at this point, I would move that under the authority of the code sections 44-04-18.4, 44-18.27, 44-04-19.2, 54-63-02, 54-63.1 6, the Industrial Commission enters into an executive session for the purpose of a confidential mill business and Clean Sustainable Energy Authority and Renewable Energy Program confidentiality requests.
Second.
Roll call.
General,
Yes.
or Commissioner,
Yes.
Governor.
The committee is meeting in executive session pursuant to NDCC 4404-19.2, 4404-18.4, and 4404-18.27 to discuss the records related to the North Dakota Mill President CEO executive search. Only commission members, their staff, commission staff, and a regular partners will participate. Following the mill executive session, the commission is meeting in executive session pursuant to NDCC 4404-18.4, 4404-19.2, and 54-60.1. To clean sustainable energy grant application confidentiality request. Commission members, their staff, and commission staff will participate in this executive session. Following the Clean Sustainable Energy Authority executive session, the commission is meeting in executive session pursuant to NDCC 4404-18.4, 4404-19.2, 54-6302. Consider a renewable energy program grant application confidentiality request. Only commission members, their staff, and commission staff will participate in this executive session. Any formal action taken by the commission will occur after it reconvenes session. I remind the commission members and those present in executive session that the discussion must be limited to the announced purposes. The executive session is anticipated to last approximately 45 minutes and will begin at 9:47 a.m.
Governor, I hope it didn't appear that we were uninterested in dramatic reading. We're getting fortifications.
That's payable. Yep.
The executive session has ended at 10:28 a.m. and the commission is reconvened in open session. During the mill executive session, an update on the president CEO executive search was provided, but no action was taken. During the Clean Sustainable Energy Authority executive session, confidentiality request was presented. What are the committee's wishes?
I so move. Hold that request.
Acceptable.
Do,
If they're separate.
yeah, let's do
Oh,
it separately.
I move first request.
A second.
Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor,
Yes. During the Clean Sustainable Energy Authority executive session, confidentiality request was presented. What are your wishes?
I move the second request for confidentiality.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor,
Yes. All right. Friends at TMR here. This for me or for?
Oh, it's supposed to be, but I got one.
On rotation.
Well, he was going at it, so then I just thought I'd probably better throw him one.
Morning goes for it.
Good
Most of meeting.
Mr. Commissioner. Good morning.
Of course, like this. Buster.
I just had a whole group with you.
We're morning. Just a minute.
Good last one.
You're up, Nathan. Case 32492.
All right, good morning, Commission. We have two cases this morning that Mark's going to present. First one is by Phoenix Operating. It was a tested case on a 5-mile lateral that Mark will go through, and the next is a large-scale EOR pilot project submitted by Continental. It is in relation to the OGRC. So Mark can go through those in a little more detail.
Morning.
Morning, Mark.
Morning.
The first case is case 32492 is an application by Canadians to establish a 3,200 acre space limits of 5 sections, 5 miles. On wells, south of Theodore Roosevelt National Park, north of it. And yeah, it was opposed by Kraken. I'll get into the details. Currently, sections 20, 29, and 32 are a stand-up 1920. There are no horizontal wells. Sections 5 and 8 are currently a stand-up 1280 feet. There are currently no wells. Unit. Arrow buttons. There we go. So this is Phoenix. There's 6 development, the 4 or 5 mile horizontal wells. Across the entire space unit, there's the surface stations up there in the northwest or the northeast of section 20. They propose well designed in this case, they proposed to install a 5-inch line Instead of a 4.5 inch liner, it's about 1.5 pounds heavier per foot. And I believe that additional weight would allow them aid in getting the liner to bottom. Additional internal diameter with friction would equal well. Phoenix owns 50.05% of the leasehold estate, the supposed 3,200 acre space unit. Back to that later. Just a breakdown of what Phoenix section, the number of acres they own in there. Identified, you notice the reddish lands to the north end is the Long X Pride, Silver Wilderness area. That area is not administratively available for leasing, and just north of that is the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. Phoenix testified if its application for the 3,200 acre space unit denied, they will be forced to develop sections 5 and 8 as a stand-up 1,200 acre space unit. But they did acknowledge under cross-examination that it can develop 1,280 acre space units economically. It also has expiring leases, beginning in the fourth quarter, 2026. No, excuse me, they plan to be in drilling in the fourth quarter, 2026. The first expirations are in 2027. Like I said, that area, that Long X divided suitable for wilderness area. Phoenix testified this area is sensitive in nature with respect to surface use. But you'll note back on this slide that their surface location is right up against this for wilderness area. Matt, I'll talk about that again here in a minute. Yeah, with that surface location being that close, any initial or routine flaring will be obviously directly adjacent to that suitable for wilderness area, and it's 3 miles closer to the Theodore Roosevelt National Park North Unit, Kraken's location, which is down there on the south end, so actually in section 5, that's where Kraken proposes to build their location. As you can see here, they also propose to build 4 horizontal wells. Phoenix and its supporters own 56.01% of the leasehold estate in the current 1,920 acre spacing unit. Kraken testified about the geology. They believe that the geology decreases from the certain parameters. Water cut trends, porosity, thickness, original oil place decrease as you go to the south. And they believe establishing the 3,200 acre space unit combines poorer quality reservoir with higher quality reservoir. And that does not protect corrosive rights. Phoenix did not refute Kraken's assessment, but we note that only one well that they looked at was within the space unit. So across that whole 5 miles, there's only one well in their cross sections in that space unit. So we didn't give that testimony much, if any, weight at all. Kraken argues that the 3,200 acre space unit is not necessary and it dissolves a viable stand-up 20 acre space unit. Kraken believes this area supports economically 2 and 3 mile development. 5 mile development is not economically necessary. Kraken testified that drilling 5 mile horizontal wells in the Bakken is unproven, and non-operators should not be burdened with the outside risks of a novel development strategy. Although Kraken does believe 5 mile horizontal wells will eventually have a place, and any difficulties to be overcome with time and experience, but they do not want to be involved at this time. He also pointed out, and it's true, that if Phoenix doesn't want to drill 5 and 8 as a stand-up 1,280 acre space unit, there is an opportunity to respace those lands in that south township there in 14699. And Kraken plans to begin drilling in August of this year, so the lease expiration is not an issue. Kraken also pointed out that on the south end, they're going to establish an energy corridor, which will facilitate roads, infrastructure, things like that, and pointed out that Phoenix's proposed location would require 3 miles of road, pipeline, and et cetera. And we know that, infrastructure have to be installed in an area that is sensitive in nature. The estimated ultimate recoveries of the two different development scenarios, Phoenix's 5-mile horizontal wells are estimated to recover 34.5 barrels per foot, while Kraken's are estimated to recover 39.6 barrels per foot, so about 5 more barrels per foot. Phoenix argues it proposed that 5-mile horizontal wells, that the 3-mile horizontal wells are unnecessary wells. Phoenix, under cross-examination, did acknowledge that 4-mile horizontal wells have only been around for about a year in the Bakken. And could be considered in its stage. And Phoenix also, under cross-examination, acknowledged this area can be developed without 5-mile horizontal wells. And the 3,200 acre spacing is not necessary to protect all rights. There are other options to develop these lands. Phoenix also acknowledged under cross-examination that the 1,920 acre space unit and 1,280 acre space unit development will not result in waste, and 2-mile horizontals cover more oil, reinformed 4-mile horizontal wells. Although they acknowledge there may be a slight diminishing recovery the longer the lateral. Rockport, Continental, and Northern all filed letters of objection, indicating there's not a need or a justification for the 5-mile configuration. And they emphasize that Phoenix's application shifts a disproportionate financial exposure to non-operators, allowing Phoenix to use the capital of non-operators to oversize unproven and high-risk development. We acknowledge that the 5-mile horizontal wells development may be necessary in certain areas for capital efficiency. However, at this time, it's unproven in the Wilson Basin, and those sections can be economically developed with 1,928, 20, and 1,280 acre space units, or the lands to the south can be respaced. As I pointed out earlier, Kraken and its supporters own 56% of leasehold in the 1920. They own 34.3. Kraken and its supporters own 34.3. The leasehold in the proposed 3,200 acre space units. So they would be forced to make an election or not to join in the drilling as well, and they're responsible for roughly 34% development costs in the space unit. Phoenix owns 50.05% of leasehold, which is barely majority. And we agree that,
But it's not evenly dispersed majority either.
no,
It's almost 100% of the two south sections,
Correct.
but significantly less than half in the north.
Correct. You're correct. And we believe the argument that it gives a disproportionate financial exposure to now persuasive. And with the estimated ultimate recovery of 39.6 barrels per foot for the 3-mile wells, 34.5 barrels per foot for the 5-mile horizontal wells, find Phoenix argument that these are unnecessary wells unpersuasive. We're recommending an order denying Phoenix's application.
So move.
Second, discussion.
Yeah, it looks like if you make a move to include the 1920, then all of a sudden you have enough interest to do it. But yeah. Oh, this is a better development. Plus, can you imagine being right up next to that wilderness area? Let the phones ring off the hook.
In our office, that goes directly to you.
I know, I found out. Thank you.
Roll call.
Commissioner?
Yes.
General?
Yes.
Yes.
The next case is an application by Continental Resources to establish a pilot project, Murphy Creek Bakken Pool. Inject gas to four horizontal wells. Base unit is 310. The depiction of wells that are currently drilled in there, the wells to the north of the Clover wells, the wells to the south of the Roadrunner wells. And the black circles indicate which wells they plan on injecting into. 3 and 10, and 15 and 22 are currently stand up 1,280 acre space units. There's one well completed in each one of those. Sections 3, 10, 15, 22 are currently a standard 2560 acre space unit, where there are 10 horizontal wells completed in those. They're on 2 different pads. There's 6 wells in that pad in the northwest of 54 wells. On the pad in the northeast-northwest of 13. Continental desires to demonstrate the technical and economic viability of enhanced oil recovery in the Bakken by injecting hydrocarbon gas to understand the relevant incremental uplift in increased oil production. They plan reaching pressures close to original reservoir pressure, which is higher than the minimum stability pressure. And they may introduce foam, fresh water, produced water, or other surfactants to mitigate any pressure loss when they're injecting. They plan to use what they learn here. This pilot project to evaluate the benefits of using CO2 as an injection fluid, their compositional reservoir modeling. One of the reasons they chose this area is, as you notice on that slide, there's a yellow line running north, east, southwest, and then down, and then it runs to the southwest element or southeast element, and that's a WBI energy pipeline, and that's what they plan to tap into for their gas for this project. They're going to inject gas to 1 or 2 well bores at a time. First cycle is estimated to last 90 days. Subsequent cycles of these, half of that about 45 days. They want to do 3 injection cycles per well. Base decision whether to do any more based on the performance. They're predicting they may see an incremental recovery of up to 20% increase compared to the baseline production. And as in any pilot project that the commission has approved, there's monitoring of offset wells and offset space units to make sure that injections confined to the space unit. The offset operators are Continental is one of them, Marathon and XTO, and they have talked to the other 2 operators. Trying to inject 12 and 1,500 MCF. Initially, they're just going to inject gas off the pipeline, but in subsequent cycles, they will cycle the produced gas, combine it with that gas off the WBI pipeline. Wells. We don't anticipate any negative impacts to the surrounding horizontal wells and the surrounding space units. With injection is going to be natural gas. We do not believe the injection will cause waste or violate correlative rights. And we believe this application will foster and encourage development, production, utilization, oil and gas in the state in a manner that would prevent waste and protect correlative rights. Or we're recommending this order approving this pilot injection project.
So,
Second,
Discussion.
so composition of the gas, is this processed gas a main transmission line?
Correct.
Oh. Okay,
Because that they need the volume. So that's why they chose to go with this off this pipeline.
okay. All right. Well, it makes sense. Good, let's try it.
Roll call.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Devon?
Yes.
Times.
Sure.
I did bring a order, for you to sign as a directed order for the Alger Bakken units. when we, put Morton together, there was a stake on one of the, when they allocated production between species units. Therefore, it affected phase one, and phase two. There's a discrepancy of about 40 barrels. And we caught that after you signed the order. So that's, I brought a corrected order for you to sign it as all it is correcting that one number between, when it goes from phase one.
We don't need that correction.
That's all I have.
You.
Thank you.
All right, since it's only been a couple weeks since the last meeting, I didn't have an update, on oil and gas related activities in the state. But, I previously announced that Ed Murphy will be retiring after 46 years with the state of North Dakota. DMR and the North Dakota Geological Survey. This will be Ed's final quarterly report. And I wanted to take a moment to wish Ed the very best in his retirement. So Ed, on behalf of the entire team at DMR, I want to thank you for your years of dedicated service and mentoring. You have built the best geological survey in the country through your great work, along with the hiring of great employees that are the core of the best in class team. So your leadership for the state of North Dakota has been tremendous in many aspects, but specifically the geosciences field. So thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ed for his quarterly report.
Thank you. Have to say my wife is here, but if you want to stand up for a second.
Hi, Becky.
Hi, Becky.
I think she's here to ask if rescind my retirement. She retired 2 years ago and she's kind of enjoying being home.
I thought you brought her to help vet the volunteer help.
You'd want to meet her because she's going to be your driver.
We're gonna go out the road digging.
Thanks right here.
Thanks. I've only been on this job 4 years. I don't know why they would take me out the deal.
The real concern is that they're taking you out to a previously dug hole.
Stop listening out there.
Yeah, I should point out, maybe it didn't take to retirement because she was standing just down the hallway and I'm looking at her. My power of observations, I guess, are shot because I didn't realize it was her till I got into the room. Well, she surprised me, but she's heard all these stories about how fantastic these meetings are. She wanted to see for herself. Okay, on page one, the graph, looking at Wilson, and Laird Corps National Library. First quarter, we had a consulting geologist, 3 geologists from the U.S. Geological Survey were working on a project with us, one from ERC, one from the Minnesota Geological Survey, and 3 of our geologists, along with a professor from the DSU, all told looked at 6,100 feet of core. And in addition, we sent almost 1,400 feet of core to a company for them to study in their own facility. And then we photographed 625 feet of core, generating 728 standard photographs for the Churchton site. Another 541 feet were photographed for using a tripod for box photos. So all told, we pulled 9,400 feet of core off the shelf. So if you go to page 2,
Yeah. Bob said it.
oh, okay, that's
I think it's a sign.
it's me.
It's supposed to.
Okay, so on top of page 2, this was from March of 2016 photograph I took. They're lowering one of the roof panel double T's onto steel beams in the core library expansions. Got a call in June, and if you look at the notched ends of those, I got a call in June from Ken Hollins in our core library that they were cracking in one area. And so if you look at the diagram, I circled where those blue lines are the steel beams running north-south. all the rest of the beams that these roof panels are sitting on are prefab concrete. And so it's where these come together, where you've got the beams running first north, south, and east, west. So there's a stress point there. So if you look at the top of page 3, again, you can see these cracks that Kent was talking about. And in fact, these are to sit on a little pad. And these beams or these double T's that move entirely off the pad. So we knew we had the movement along those beams. I contacted the general contractor, the architect. They contacted the company that made these concrete panels, then installed them. Brought in 2 structural engineers. This was and then also Matt Sagsveen and his crew worked on this. We had them ready to go. And luckily, they came in on April 7th with a fix, but it took 9 months to get there. But what they did is these are the photographs on the bottom of page 3 that they cut into the roof and exposed top of those roof panels. And then the expansion, the expanded photograph, you can see where they cut through these roof panels. These on the top are welded together. And they decided we're seeing movement here, so let's cut those off. And then you go to top of page 4. There's an angle iron. They feel at the edge of those roof tees, and they welded that right onto the steel beams to keep them from moving, because they were worried about them obviously moving off. We did find out from insurance that this wasn't covered, so luckily the companies paid for it themselves. But had the roof collapsed into the building, they would have paid for a replacement of the core, which they didn't realize is billions of dollars they have to go back and read that core. So I said, let's take a look at that policy. Anyway, I hope that's resolved. On page 4, we put out a report first quarter on the Red River Formation. I talked with you about this a year ago, saying that companies that got back to our 2014, 2017 Red River reports, taking that information, applying 3D seismic to it, coming up with, and so we pointed to a new potential play in Gold Valley County. Red River D, the bottom of page 4, that cross section, those thin gray lines are what we call Cooper sites. They're organic rich shales, and that's source rock. And then on page 5, back, okay. Oh, back up a little too much.
And if you stop your report right now, you would leave here with us thinking you've saved billions of dollars. That's what's in our mind right now. Anything else you say? It's going to subtract.
Kind of used it. My whole life, I've never stopped in the right place. But, so the cross section is showing the purple are dolomite and the blue is limestone. The dolomite, when it's formed, it increases the porosity. So that's where you've got the organics, the hydrocarbons, and moving out of those Cooper sites into those areas of porosity, and that's what companies are after. They can see that with the 3D, and then the map that we put together at the bottom, we actually did a composite thickness on those Cooper sites again to guide companies in their exploration. Page 6. In state law, Simply Code 3823, high level radioactive waste advisory councils to meet once a year, and then I'm to report back every biennium to both legislative management, which we've been doing through the Energy Development Transition Committee, and then come back here also to the Industrial Commission. So that's what I'm doing. I last reported to you on November 26th of 2024. Since that time, I had 3 meetings of the Advisory Council, November 8th, 2024, July 8th, 2025, and then October 22nd, 2025. Since I last reported, Jim Roars was the state senator. Jim Roars was the chair of the council. He decided not to run for re-election. So the council voted in Dale Patton, Senator Patton as chair. Also, we had, and then Jeff Barta was brought onto the committee to council to replace Senator Pearson. And then we've had a couple of agency director changes. Sherry Adams brought on from the Health Department, Chris Shilkin from Commerce, and Lee Sauce from Water Resources. So just very briefly, the November 8th meeting, we had two speakers from the Department of Energy from their Storage and Transportation Division, and that screen capture 7 shows one of their responsibilities is to come up with these tasks where spent fuel rods can be transferred around the country, either to income sites or to a disposal site. And so they actually do testing on those, free drop, puncture, thermal, 100%. They want to make sure if they're an accident, either when they're being transported by rail or semi, that don't leak fuel. Senator Patton also spoke at our meeting about the EDC and the bill that they were proposing for the next session that was going to deal with challenges for nuclear energy in North Dakota. Rich Garman talked to us from Commerce about the requests for energy. And then we also, Dave Glott talked about what he was seeing on the federal side for a possible federal regulations. And then also he talked to his counterpart in Wyoming, where they've had a coal power plant shutting down, and then Bill Gates was coming in with a company, TerraPower, to set up a nuclear power plant in close proximity. At our July 8th, 2025 meeting, we did have a person from the Wyoming Energy Authority give a presentation. That agency was formed in 2020, where they took their infrastructure authority, pipeline authority, and state energy office and combined them, trying to come up with one shop for energy questions. Also, a person from the Nuclear Waste Management Organization out of Canada, they're responsible for the long-term storage of nuclear fuel, spent nuclear fuel, looking at a deep geologic repository that's down to 2,300 feet in granite, which is 190 miles. Is where that facility is going to be. And then again, Rich Garman talked to us some more about energy requests that they're getting through Commerce. And then at our October 22, 2025 meeting, we had a PhD student in physics and nuclear engineering from KTH Royal Institute of Technology out of Stockholm, Sweden, gave a presentation on nuclear waste management. Again, Sweden is constructing for nuclear waste a facility that would get down to a depth of 1,640 feet in granite. This KV3, what they call KV3, is they would use 3 different methods to encapsulate the spent fuel, copper, then surrounded by bentonite clay, and then on page 10, this is, we had another speaker from the Nuclear Energy Institute, which is a private nonprofit agency, a trade association for the commercial nuclear waste industry or nuclear industry. And one of the things that he talked about was advanced reactors and recycling. So right now, today, if we were to take all the spent fuel that's sitting at all the nuclear power plants, that would be 100 years of energy. We wouldn't have to develop any more uranium for 100 years for these, because you only use 5 to maybe 7% of the energy that's in there. So these spent fuel rods that sit around have more than 90% energy still sitting there.
Why is that? I
Well,
don't understand.
there was in the 70s, President Carter put a short moratorium on that because when you reprocess these, you end up with plutonium, percentage of plutonium. So they didn't want to do that. But in the 80s, they took the moratorium off. And now it's just been a cost. It costs more to reprocess those than to create. That may well be changing going forward. Dave Stradinger from DEQ talked about, at that same meeting, talked about it, kind of an overview of waste and regulations in North Dakota because we have new members of the council. And then Chairman Pat talked about the EC, or I'm sorry, the Advanced Nuclear Energy Interim Committee that he chairs. Since he was doing double duty, he said, let's meet this fall. We took a break, but we've also all been watching his meetings. So with that, page 11, during the first quarter, we issued 2 geothermal permits, both of those were commercial, and then 3 geological resource program permits. All 3 of those were for Hawaii and highway and launching surveys that need to be done for that. Publications on pages 11 to 15, 172 landslide maps put out, published. Quarter, and I forgot to include 7 newsletter articles and 4 of our other reports, including the Red River one, another one on the geochemistry, the pronghorn member. I'd like to talk about the pronghorn because in Fund 15, and the commissioner remembers this, that the House said no to any new buildings, and luckily for us, in 2012, Whiting Petroleum had written an article for the American Association of Geologists Explorer magazine, and they point out that the pronghorn clay that they had going came 100% from looking at rocks in our core library, which was generating in extraction taxes over $60 million annually. So we were able to use that argument, plus to help the Senate appropriations chair was very much behind the project. On page 15, we did during the first quarter 32 outreach events. 20 of those were for the students, which is what we've been pushing for. So 63% spoke to Rita Murphy third graders, Missouri Valley Montessori preschool, Hazelton Moffitt, Radix eighth graders, Elk Ridge third graders, sophomores at Bismarck High School, 2 earth science classes at Valley Middle School in Grand Forks, Christ the King third to 5th graders, a group of homeschoolers, St. Anne's third graders, a group of graduate and undergraduate students at geology at North Dakota, the Missouri River Correctional Center. I'm not sure what age those people were. And then Custer Elementary, 3rd and 5th graders, University of Mary biology class, and then we also judged science. So with that, back, I think I can say by popular demand, I know everyone has seen this except Governor, you and Jordan, and Jordan begged me to show this. So I just very quickly got to say, I don't know how many people have their luckiest and unluckiest moments just minutes apart. This was in 1982 on page 16. The photograph on the bottom was taken through a barn that was just next to this cabin, which I think is the Palisade cabin, oldest first log cabin in Billings County, and it's since fallen down. But I was actually there to look at that coal. You look through that window, that's the Harmon coal, actually thickest coal in North Dakota, 10 feet thick here, 54 feet thick up in McKenzie County, up near the north unit of the TR Park. I took that because that's where I was headed. I walked over this right after I took this picture of the cab. I walked over, stood there in the doorway, and I looked through, and most of the floor was gone. And I just looking down in the dugout below, and I thought that looks pretty snaky when something hit my boot. And I looked down, and it was a rattlesnake, pretty big rattle. And he had turned to go under the floor. Of course, I was levitating. I was trying to get out of there, but my heart was beating. And so I thought I'm pretty lucky that day. Just minutes later, I drove down over here. Now I'm standing right on the edge of the Little Missouri, and looked at the coal, came back, drove about 10 feet, dropped the front into the sand just right beyond this, where this vegetation is. And if you can see over on the left side of that photograph, so, yeah, there's a wood pile, and there's also some pieces of wood. So I went over, had to jack the front of the truck up, take the tires out, chop the wood with a hatchet, get it under the tires, and then I was able just to walk off that. But I had to use both my right hand and left hand because my hand was getting so done with the hatchet, and my elbow started swelling up, within hours. And I went a day with that. So finally, at the end of the next day, I couldn't move my hand. My arm was swollen all the way down to my wrist. I thought, well, I could have gone into the Dickinson Hospital because it's a wonderful facility. Dickinson is a wonderful place. I like to say that.
There's a lot of sucking up. There's a lot of sucking up. And also, do you get these stories at home? Like, I'm a superhero, and then, yeah, okay, making sure.
I'm surprised she hasn't walked out, so I drove into Bismarck, into St. A's, where it's your room. I thought, man, I've really torn this ligament. I got all this fluid. And the physician asked me where I was at, what I was doing. I told him. He went and got a mirror and he put it behind, and I could see 2 fang marks. I was bitten by a black widow spider. So I probably pulled it out of that wood pile. So within minutes, I went from being really lucky to really unlucky. One quick thing, this is at Wishick landfill. I looked at 6 different landfills in the mid to late 80s, helping the health department now DEQ out. They were pretty short-handed at that time. Wanted to see what the impact was to the groundwater. So here you got, I think there's 5 or 6 cats in this picture.
Yeah.
This was typical. That Wishick, they had shut down the landfill. You couldn't bring garbage there anymore, but you could bring wood debris and grass clippings. And so half the people were bringing those, the other half were still bringing their garbage. So cats had cover and they had food, so they were happy. What I don't have a picture of is Harvey, which is one of the other landfills I was doing. There, they had a tornado go through in '86, 2 of them, one just in Wells County, one just outside of Harvey. And so their wood pile was like 200 feet long, 20 feet high. So they had hundreds of cats. I mean, every wildcat in that county was in there because, again, the garbage was still coming in. We had, this was November when I was up there in November of '86. In September, we had found a transformer. And so we wrote all the numbers down because we thought it might have contained PCBs, turned that over to the health department. And when I came up in November, I was alone, and of course, all these cats are scattering, and I saw several of them jump out of a washing machine box. And so I went over there, and it was still full of dividers, but I could see at the bottom there was frozen perch they'd been chewing on. So I'm looking around, and a cat jumps out of my face, and I should have turned. Instead, I reached out and grabbed it, and right away it bit me right between my thumb and forefinger. And so then I grab it, I'm holding it. I grew up with cats, so I know how to hold. I got my gloves. I had the Cenex orange spongy glove with the liner in it. And I pull it off, and I could see it was scratched with no blood. So I just tossed the cat down, and then I felt something warm, and then I was bleeding on my hand. So then I went after the cat. I couldn't get it. So I went to the sheriff, Wells County. I said, how are rabies? He said, well, one county in the state. Gave me his .22 rifle. I went to the grocery store. I bought 5 or 6 cans of tuna fish, heated them up in the hotel. Ran over because it was November, late November. It was getting dark. Put those out. I saw every single cat that was there except the one cat, and I knew I couldn't shoot and kill it because you got to keep the brain tissue. Otherwise, they can't. They look at the brain tissue and it deteriorates very quickly. So I had to go to Bismarck and get my rabies shots. So that was okay.
I'm listening to that.
Less
You think you're gonna march that gunpoint back to your vehicle? Like, seriously, I will shoot you?
I had
And you
about
think
that
this
far.
deters me from wanting to go with you on these things? No, I want to go more than I did before.
I figured I would have cats.
Oh my gosh.
I did not have trying to kill cat with the 22 on my agenda today.
That's
I'm hoping PETA doesn't say. And this here, 1982 is when I discovered scorpions, which people knew about them in Western North Dakota, but I think that those are entomologists, wherever, but this is from 2017 where Levi Mockness, I got him to hold that for scale. I said, I need that, and of course that scorpion didn't, he's like, take that picture.
You would suggest that those are your pipes that receive.
Then, of course, some of these the ranchers don't, now maybe 40 years ago, none of the ranchers I talked to know about this because they live in the coal and the cracks in the coal, they come out at night. And so Clay and our paleontologists, they were smart enough to take black lights, UV lights, and they could see them at night, they glow. But anyway, everyone said, well, they don't have a stinger. You can see the stinger on this one.
Yeah.
And the venom is not supposed to be that strong, but I think it depends on if you react. It's just like by the way, until I got bit by a black widow spider, I didn't react to these things. After that, I've always had reactions.
Really?
Had to carry that. And so, believe it or not,
You're getting out just in time.
I feel like there's some false advertising. You should be in here in a leather jacket and a fedora.
I think I know why the premium is on our health policy. I mean, they're gonna go down next year.
let me just say one thing. So I have presented since 1991. I've presented 9 different industrial commissions, of which Commissioner, you've been on 5 of those 9. And so it went when I first started in 91, 3 Democrats, and then it went to Governor Schaefer, 1 Democrat, or 1 Republican, 2 Democrats, then 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat, now 3. And what I tell people is you're sitting there, and I'll ask Becky now afterwards. I said, you'd be hard pressed to figure out what people's politics are because you're just doing the business of the state of North Dakota. It's been a privilege.
I compliment. Well, it's our pleasure.
Thank you, Ed. Things out.
Yeah, you've done great work. And thanks for teaching me why we don't get rid of the core samples. That was a day when I said that and said, well, where do they get this card? And everybody around the table looked at me like, we can vote you off this commission.
He came in with that agenda. It's like a bad
We
parent.
have some space up there in that core library. No, it's your reports honestly have been highlights of this. It's fun, but it's also super educational, and the work that you all do and say the team you put together have done incalculable good for North Dakota.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And Lynn Helms is here. Let me thank Lynn for hiring me for his local geologist.
You like to oversee all the
Even after the rattlesnakes. Oh,
Somebody take care of the wildlife.
Oh, Ed, sit down. You're not done yet. You're retired now. Get used to being bossed around. We have a resolution of appreciation honoring state geologist Ed Murphy. Whereas Ed Murphy has served as North Dakota Geological Survey since 1977, starting in a temporary role and becoming a full-time employee on June 1st, 1980, Ed has been a dedicated employee for 46 years and spent 50 field seasons serving North Dakota. For the past 22 years, Ed served as the state's 13th state geologist and director of the North Dakota Geological Survey. And whereas Ed has been exceptionally dedicated to the survey's directive to serve as the primary source of geological information for the state by demonstrating excellence in implementing the survey's mission to investigate the geology of North Dakota, administer regulatory programs, act in an advisory capacity to other state agencies, and providing outstanding public service to the people of North Dakota. And whereas during Ed's tenure as state geologist, he grew the survey's professional geology staff from 6 to 15, greatly increasing the survey's ability to service the needs of the state and its growing energy industries. And whereas Ed's 46-year career with the survey, he has been exceptionally prolific, publishing over 875 maps and authoring over 147 geologic reports and scientific articles on the geology of North Dakota. Ed has delivered over 220 scientific presentations to industry, academia, government agencies, and the public, greatly advancing our understanding of North Dakota's geologic history and resources. And whereas Ed has provided exceptional leadership in creating and updating thoughtful and responsible rules and regulations for geothermal resources, subsurface minerals, coal regulation, and critical minerals exploration. And whereas under Ed's leadership, many scientific firsts for North Dakota were realized, including being the first state to produce a detailed LiDAR elevation and landslide areas map for the entire state, and characterizing geologic strata containing some of the highest concentrations of rare earth elements in the nation. And whereas Ed has played a key role in protecting the land and waters of the state over the course of his career, investigating North Dakota's solid waste landfills and oil field waste facilities, and was instrumental in creating North Dakota's high-level radioactive waste advisory council, which he has chaired since its inception in 2019. And whereas Ed oversaw several renovations and the rebuilding of the $13.6 million Wilson M. Laird core and sample library in 2016 on the campus of the University of North Dakota, which houses over 92 miles of core that is highly praised by industry and academia for continued petroleum geologic research. And whereas Ed has discovered several scientifically important fossil sites across North Dakota and collected hundreds of specimens for the North Dakota State Fossil Collection. As state geologist, he guided the expansion of the public fossil dig program into one of the largest in the country, providing hundreds of North Dakotans the opportunity to assist with discovering and preserving our shared prehistoric past. And whereas during Ed's time with the survey, he has taken the geosciences of North Dakota to the forefront of America and elevated the scientific professionalism of the North Dakota Geologic Survey to being the best in class nationally. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the North Dakota Industrial Commission hereby expresses deep gratitude to Ed Murphy for his service to the citizens of North Dakota and wishes Ed the very best in his retirement. Adopted this 12th of May, 2026.
Here, here. I'm very sorry, Governor, that you had to read that.
Longer than our notices can go.
Such a beautiful job writing that down. You really were, Alex. Thank you. I will say, Ed, appreciated all these years, bring so much detail and so much to the table. But I really got to say, what I appreciate was when you and I and Lynn went up to the Williston Basin Conference in Canada. And we stopped at the Weyburn Fields and you went through and talked about enhanced oil recovery and all of the CO2 going into Canada from North Dakota and how that was working and what happened. It was great.
I thought you were gonna talk about the salt, the big salt mountain.
Well, we did that too. We went to that one too, but I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Great job. That was great. Yeah, a mountain of salt you can see from 10 miles away. That it? All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Our condolences.
This time next year, that would be great. Doug and I are up for re-election, though. There may be a different commission.
I thought the sheriff was gonna have a different, that 22 when he handed it to him.
Look, I got a 22. I knew I couldn't shoot it. That's why I say he thought he was gonna threaten it. Give it the car.
How much trust when the sheriff actually hands one of our employees?
Yeah.
22.
What were the shots? The baby shots. So
Again,
So-
funny thing is that Jeff Worship here in town had never given, so he's reading the instructions.
He said, well, it's 9 shots total. Luckily, it wasn't the big one, bedrooms, but he said, well, it says 5 simultaneously, so he got 2 syringes and he got 3 nurses. And he gets the shoulder and then 3 along the belt line in the back, so it's 1, 2, 3. So I'm like, and then it's 1 every 5 days, I think, after.
He took that literal though. You had to have 5 of them simultaneously.
Yes, whatever.
I don't-
Because at that time, nobody had ever survived. I think since then, there's been one Russian that survived that rabies. So I didn't want to take a chance.
I thought you were gonna say survive the shots.
Oh. And there's no way for them to ever test that you were not exposed to rabies.
There isn't, well, there wasn't at that time. Yeah, I've heard since that people still had to, there's a question, so. Yeah.
He does chase cars down the street when they go by.
Yeah,
They have a litter box.
Action foods are.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You too.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Love and retirement.
Good.
Here to take care of my fire.
Hey, Bill.
Oh.
Did you bring a buffalo with? Cause we're gonna have a tough time here trying to adjust.
Well, it was kind of windy and the wind wasn't blowing.
Great. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, if you'd like to do something.
oh, that's the. So today, I don't have any loans for you because they were not ready. Probably a lot this month. But just wanted to go over a topic that's been around for the last 4 years, and continues to be an issue. The national organization, called it saving the SRFs, and what are we saving the SRFs from? But where am I pointing this at, I guess?
Like the first time.
There we go. From congressionally directed spending, community funded projects or earmarks, all the same name for, or same name for the same thing. What's been happening since 2022 is the funding for the state revolving fund program has been cut by those congressionally directed spending, community funded projects or earmarks. I'm just going to refer to them as earmarks since that's the short term. And as you can see for the clean water program, what that has meant from 2022 through 2024, and it looks like that is my old presentation up there. It is my old presentation up there. It must, okay. Anyhow, in 2025, they did not take earmarks from the SRF funding, and 2026 again they did take earmarks from the SRF funding. What that did to the drinking water program was in 2025 was bring it down to what it meant. Well, I'll get to that, but it's severely impacted the drinking water program for North Dakota. So what does that mean when they take those earmarks off is it impacts our loan forgiveness. Other states it has more impacts, but North Dakota, the state has not provided any general funds towards the program. We have issued bonds to provide for the match, and then we charge an admin fee to provide for the administration of the program. And what it does impact is the loan forgiveness, which is the only grant money that the SRF programs have available to give out.
What does that mean for drinking water and clean water? Drinking water, of course, there is this Department of Water Resources cost share available. Clean water, there's really nothing else but the loan forgiveness and then a few other random grants. So to look at the actual numbers for North Dakota, the grants, what they looked like prior to 2022, the Clean Water Program would get about $7.7 million and offer $777,000 of loan forgiveness. As you can imagine, that's generally maybe one project. With the earmarks coming off the top, that has cut the grants that North Dakota receives down to about $3.5 million, cutting the loan forgiveness offered. The reason that it doesn't look so cut is that then Congress increased how much loan forgiveness had to be offered. It had been 10%. And these last couple of years, they've increased that Clean Water has to offer 20% loan forgiveness. So they're still at about $750,000 of loan forgiveness. On the drinking water side, the grants have decreased to this year, it's about the exact same as the Clean Water Program, about $3.5 million. And the loan forgiveness is at about $1 million. So it is severely cut into the loan forgiveness that's being offered, and those grants we pair with the money we go out to the market to bond for. We'll talk about that a little bit more as well. Let's see here. How many earmarks have North Dakota projects received? No, it wants to go really fast. Okay, 0, 0, 0, and 2026, a baby 0. So I think we're probably down to one of the last states that have not received any earmarked projects. And I did understand that Senator Kramer reached out to DEQ to ask about projects to potentially provide earmarked funds for in the future. So we'll see what ends up happening in the future. Yes, we have received bill funding. My other slide presentation. This bill funding, as you can see, there is mandated loan forgiveness. So this is not all going to go into the SRF and revolve. We have to give away half of that essentially as loan forgiveness. That's the supplemental bucket. The emerging contaminants, that all has to be given away as loan forgiveness. So that's not going to be revolving. And the lead half of that will be given away as loan forgiveness. And we have been doing the interest rate on that as 0.5%. So it's not going to revolve very fast. So that bill funding has been, and this was not my most recent presentation. And we have plenty of projects on the intended use plan, which many of them are the same projects that are on the Department of Water Resources water plan as well. Both lists are in the billions of dollars of projects that are out there. So definitely can use that funding, and which segues into bond issue that we just did. And this wasn't on the agenda, but we did just sell bonds, and I thought of that last night. So I asked PFM to provide their usual memo about the bond sale. So I thought it was very timely that we take those grant money essentially from EPA and we pair this with our bond sale, which was a very good bond sale at 4.3%, but we're lending this money at 2%. That we're down to $3 million that we're at 0%, and we just did a $200 million bond issue at 4.3%. It's going to be hard to keep our interest rate at 2%. which is where we would like to be. Just to give you a little color on our bond sale, we did have 9 bidders. The spread between the low bidder and the high bidder was 5 basis points. That is probably our best bond sale ever. We've had a lot of bidders, but that tight of spread is unbelievable. And then even just
What do you attribute that?
I don't know. I mean, it just was, there was a lot of interest out there. And then even our spread to, the V-Val, which is what we usually, because we're AAA rated, it's what we mark to see what we have a good sale. Every single coupon was less than 12 basis points from that, which I don't think, I know we have never had a sale that's been that much below. I looked at our 2024 sale and there were coupons 24 basis points above. So it was a good bond sale. I just wish that the interest rates were like they were in 2024. I think our interest rate on that was more in the 2% or something like that, which makes it easier to be able to provide those 2% loans. And so, and then I guess the other piece, which I believe there was an article from last week's bond buyer, there was the front page article was about the SRFs and the president's recommendation for the 2027 budget for the SRFs was 0. And EPA Chief Selden said that was fine since earmarks are there and they're not revolving, then it's why have a budget for the SRFs. So it was an interesting article and I believe that's been provided to you as well.
Yeah, the copy of the article is in your materials. It does a really good job of explaining the issue.
Mhm.
Well, I think, what bothersome is all these communities. I mean, if you're not in LA, New York, Seattle, whatever it may be, these were helping to fund projects in the rest of the country that actually bolster the economy and support all those communities. And that's not there, it's going to slow down economic growth. And guess who generates tax revenue for the rest of the country? So this was a good program. There was a return for the United States, but it is what it is. It's where we're at. So, unfortunately.
And you are catching on to your job.
After all this time.
On sale, the whole thing. So I'm hitting it on cylinders.
I thank you.
It's just my observation.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I don't think that the president's budget is going to pass, but I think the response was interesting. I do think that we are really fortunate in North Dakota because our fund does revolve.
Yeah.
We did hit over $1 billion in loans. We have leveraged the program. We don't rely. There's a lot of states that rely on these grants to administer the program, and we're not relying on that. So we are poised to continue. The one thing we did do, not being irresponsible about the spread we've got between, our zero fund money and our 4.4% money, is we did go to any loans above $20 million. The interest rate on that amount above $20 million is going to be 75% of our market rate. So roughly about 3.3%, and we'll blend that and stuff too, but just to be sure that we can continue to make loans to any community that shows the ability to repay and be able to assist the large projects and the small projects, the large communities and the small communities. is what our goal is.
Thank you.
And
It's
hopefully,
remarkable. These reports always leave you with the sense that there's no way these communities can afford this stuff if there aren't these programs. It's not possible, and it is a shared commitment, obviously, by the state or nationally to quieter areas, recognizing that without them, we have no ability to feed the nation and supply workers for the oil and gas and all this stuff. But it's a little attenuated. So there must be opposition out there to some of this saying that's an awful lot of money for that little community and you know, how are we going to do it? But there'd be no way this infrastructure would be put in place all across the state. No possible way, right? I mean, you got to feel good about that. You're leveraging a lot of resources to go out there and do a lot of good.
has been a privilege and it is eye-opening because
Yeah.
most people don't realize what it takes to have that toilet flush and to have that water turn on.
They take it for granted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so. Well, thank you for the
Great.
time to share that information and I'll bring a bunch of loans to you next month, hopefully.
Always good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan,
Third motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor,
Yes. This meeting is the end of June 28th, 29th.
June 29th, starting at 7:30 in the morning